I'm Zyrene here, and on today's episode of Crime Talk, I'll be covering the Moscow college student murders. Listener discretion is advised. On November 13th, 2022, Moscow, Idaho police received a call to report an unconscious person from a college house. There were 6 residents at the house, and when the police arrived on scene, they found that 2 had survived, untouched and unharmed. The 4 other people in the house at the time, however, were not so lucky. These include Kaylee Goncalves, 21, Madison Morgan, 21, Zaina Kronoodle, 20, and Ethan Chapton, also 20. Kaylee and Madison were best friends, inseparable, and when they were found sleeping in the same bed on the 3rd floor and had both been stabbed to death. Ethan and Zaina were found on the 4th floor and had also been stabbed to death. All 4 had defensive wounds. The 4 were attacked with a K-bar style combat knife. Hardened officers responding to the scene said that it was one of the most gruesome crime scenes they had ever seen. There was a lot of blood, and therefore we should have a good chance of finding DNA evidence. If the victims had defensive wounds, the attacker should have also had defensive wounds and definitely left behind a trace of themselves. Whenever you enter a room, whenever you leave a room, you leave a trace of you being there, and we will find it. DNA evidence may not be sufficient, however, because CODIS, the system that DNA evidence is entered into, usually only has DNA submitted by felons. However, sites like Ancestry DNA, where people can submit their own genetics, may help law enforcement find a link to the killer, whether it be through a family member or if the killer themselves, very stupidly, submits their own DNA to that database. Saturday night, Ethan and Zaina went to a fraternity party that he was part of. He did not live at the house, but he was staying there to sleep over. Maddie and Kaylee went to Corner Club Bar, then went to a late-night food truck, which we see them on their security cameras. Then they got an Uber home and arrived shortly before 2 a.m. Once they were back home, Kaylee called her on and off again boyfriend Zach Decor 7 times between 2:26 and 2:52 a.m. He did not answer, and he said that the reason he did not answer is because he was sleeping. They were not on bad terms, and there was talk of them getting back together. The 2 surviving girls were on the 1st floor, Bethany Funk and Dylan Mortison. They stayed up late drinking and fell asleep soon after that. They did not hear anything to wake them up, but were also very intoxicated. Police believe Ethan was killed first, therefore the killer went straight through a 2nd floor window, perhaps, skipping over the 1st floor and leaving the 2 girls downstairs completely unharmed. It's speculated that Kaylee was targeted for this because there was talk that she had a stalker. The house was cleared in an almost military-style sweep, coming in through the 2nd floor, maybe through a window, attacking Ethan and Zaina brutally, then moving on to the 2nd floor and murdering Kaylee and Madison. This could imply that the killer was not familiar with the house if they were looking for Kaylee, and just happened to stumble onto Ethan and Zaina, completely skipping over the 1st floor. The layout of the house did make the 1st floor look like it would be a basement, or like a living room area, so if they were looking for bedrooms, it is likely that they did just go straight to the 2nd floor. It is also implied that this is a crime of passion. The victim's defensive wounds were so intense, and there was obviously a struggle going on for each and every one of their lives. To go into a house, either prepared to kill 1 person or 4 people with a knife, is a lot more gruesome than your average murder. When police arrived on scene, Kaylee's dog Murphy was also put inside another room. Now, some people find this significant because it's a classic case of the dog didn't bark. Either the dog was in the other room all night, or the killer could have put the dog in the other room and the dog didn't bark because they knew who the person was, or very unlikely, the dog just didn't hear what was going on. The police have no suspects by looking for the driver of a white car, a Hyundai Elantra, between the year 2011 and 2013. They do not have the plates and want to ask the driver if they have any information which could be critical to this case. The car was seen in the early morning hours near the student's house. It's been nearly 6 weeks since this crime took place, and there are little to no updates. I will give you guys an update if anything else comes out, but it's unusual considering all the evidence that we have that police have not solved this crime yet. but hopefully inside the coming days there will be some information. If you know anything, please contact the Moscow, Ohio Police Department. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.